Okay, I'm Christopher Mulligan, the Clinical Director and Founder of GroupWorks West. This is our third installment on effective limit setting. Our first video dealt with the whys of limit setting. What do we do? Why do we do it? What's the purpose? The second video dealt with examples, and now we are into the meat of it. What constitutes effective limit setting? Effective limit setting always involves clarity, contrast, consistency, and follow-through. By the term clarity, we mean that we want the child to understand in no uncertain terms what it is that you are doing. What is the limit? We want you to be firm and unambiguous. We want you to connect visually so the child's back isn't turned to you or your back is turned to him or her. We don't want you to be setting limits through doorways or from room to room. If you are using verbal communication, speak slowly, be specific, and avoid general terms like this is bad behavior. Contrast. We want you to slow down the moment so the child has the opportunity to process what is happening. Stop the action if you have to. If the child's disorganized and is defiant and isn't listening, go over and stop the action. Or you can simply close the zone of connection, which is move much closer to the child so that he or she knows where you are and knows that you're serious. Make facial contact, not eye contact. Eye contact doesn't give them enough information. Make sure they're looking at your face and use your face to express what it is that you need and how you're feeling. Speak and act with authority. You don't feel it, fake it. All right, now consistency. Probably the most important factor. You have to remember that inconsistency will beget testing. So it is important to reach 90% consistency to get a child to accept your limits. Very, very important. 90%, get below that and you get a lot of testing. So consistency is so important. And what we want to do in order to be consistent is we don't want you to have 15 different rules that you're trying to force at once. We want you to be clear on 2 or 3 really important limits to set and then be very consistent in how you work with those limits. And then finally, follow through. Whatever you say is going to happen as a result of setting the limits needs to happen. And which means most of the time that what you're going to say is, if you don't do this, then we won't do the next thing. You want to set up very simple, logical consequences. If you don't clean up your room, then we can't move on to the next. We can't watch TV, or we can't leave the house, or we can't do an outing. You want to create very logical and consistent consequences, not consequences as a result of a token economy or star charts, but actual consequences that result from performing the behavior or not performing the behavior. If I follow through and I clean up my room, then the next thing can happen. If I put away the dishes, then the next thing can happen. So we want you to be in a sequence where the child understands when the limit is set, I perform the behavior, and then this happens, and then this happens. We really want to make sure that this is simple and direct follow through. Nothing fancy, no fancy bookkeeping. You can always use what is referred to as grandma's rule, which is we work before we play, which means we take care of our responsibilities in the house before we have our discretionary time. And that's the best way to think about follow through. So that's what we're going to cover for today. Clarity, contrast, consistency, and follow through. Thanks.